Welcome to Satari Self-Care Institute. I am Katrina Jones, Prosperity Life Coach. We are a self-care school that offers classes, discussions, and we feature special guests who speak about the topics of self-care, career development, business building, and wealth consciousness. We have Hasina Roach. Hasina has written a cookbook, a vegan cookbook, Mind, Body, and Soul. She's going to talk with us today about inspiration for writing the book, process she took in writing the book, and how we can begin the process of becoming more holistic in our lifestyle. Welcome, Hasina.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I really appreciate you coming. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What inspired you to write a book?
My health was changing, and I knew I need to make some changes to my overall health for a lifestyle change and still feel like I have purpose.
Mind, Body, and Soul. What inspired that particular title?
You have to address your mind. You have to address your body, meaning the physical things, physical in all aspects. When I say physical, it's not just working out. It's also even drinking water, who you choose to have an intimate relationship with, and how you deal with your intimate relationship. Going to your doctor to address certain things. And then the soul is just what it is. I believe that soul and spirit can be interchangeable. And with that, whatever your spiritual life is, whatever your religious life is, whatever your background is, to be consistent with it, because once you do that, that's your soul diet. To meditate, to pray, to go to the synagogue, to go wherever you go, if you just become one with nature. Because once we have these as our backbone or our foundation, then it's easier to transcend over to eating more fruits and vegetables or things that don't have meat and dairy, and feel fulfilled with it.
I also noticed that in the cookbook that your recipes are pretty simple. There are a lot of books out on veganism, being a vegetarian. What makes your book different?
Because I share my story of my health changes. I share the mind, body, soul, and aspect. These days and time, people don't go and cook. They feel like it might take too long. But what I try to do, because of my health and the changes in my life of not being able to sit for periods of time, not being able to stand for periods of time, I'm not going to cook something that's going to take forever. People usually ask me, what do you eat on a regular basis? So I put things that I eat for breakfast, things I eat for lunch, dinner. I put sides in there that most people would eat. And what I try to do also is make sure that these are things that you would eat on a regular basis anyway, without the milk, without the cheese, without the meat, and still know that it tastes the same. I grew up West Indian. I have an influence of being from New England, where I was born and raised, an influence of Puerto Ricans in my life, and everything else, to be honest. My mom is from the South, from South Carolina. My father's from Trinidad, so I have so many influences, and because of those influences, I feel I put a little bit of all of that in the cookbook also.
Tell us a little bit about you, your journey.
When I think of my life and maybe the last 6 years of having health changes, it changed me. It rocked my world. And a lot of it comes back to the cookbook. A lot of things had to change. God really slowed me down. The universe, nature slowed me down because I needed to take a step back. I graduated about 11 years ago now from Nova with my master's in family therapy. I wanted to go back and get my PhD. I just had a child. There was just a lot going on. And with that, I was burning both ends of the candle. Before I had my son, right before, I got my master's, but I was working 60 hours a week, and I was still going to school. After I had my son and got kind of relaxed after being able to stay home, I'm thankful for that time with my son that I had to bond with him. But going back and working 60 hours a week, still having to be a mom and a significant other and a caretaker and a cleaner and a cooker, it does something to you. What I learned is you have to slow down. And because I wasn't slowing down, life halted me. I know a lot of people ask me, do you damn the world for giving you all these things? I believe that the doctors diagnosed me with something. I don't think anything was given to me. I was diagnosed with it. That's going back to the mindfulness and the mind aspect that I talk about in the book. But your words are powerful. So with me saying that it slowed me down, I enjoy where I am now. I can spend more time with my son. I can put more time into myself, and I can give back purposeful now.
Having children, having to go back into the workforce, but yet still having that workload as if you were still single, and having those expectations, having to go to school, having to balance that with family life. It's a lot. We can get out of balance, and being out of balance can cause a lot of problems.
Whoever's in the caregiver role is the one that has to balance a lot. When you're a caregiver of others, maybe you have an ailing parent. I have a neighbor that she's going through that with her mom. Her mom's probably 80 something. My best friend, she's married, so she has that aspect, and then they have kids together. She has to take care of that. She started a business, and she still wanted to work, but she had to balance out working and having to take care of her kids. Caregiving in general is a lot.
I want to switch gears a bit and I'd like you to talk about the process of writing this book, because not only have you written this cookbook, but you've also written a book of poetry.
Yes.
Talk about that writing process and how long it took. Did you just sit down one day and say, I'm going to write a book, and it happened?
Well, to start off, the process was learning how to be in tune, balancing out your mind, body, and soul. It's a real challenge to try to write something if everything else in your life is chaotic. Being still and hearing from whoever you feel is your higher power, and then the words will just come to you. And it's crazy how it just comes to you. You couldn't make it up by yourself. I remember that time when I picked up a pen and a paper. It's a funny thing, and I have that as my forward in my poetry book. My son was going to school, and he got picked up by the bus. And then I went outside to eat breakfast on the patio, on the little couch we had out there, one of those patio couches. And I locked the door. So I had no way to get back in the house until my son got home, and then I had to slip him through the little bathroom window that we have here in South Florida, and that's how I got in. But in those 8 hours, I said, what am I going to do with myself? I have no key. Thank goodness I didn't need to use the bathroom, but my car was open. So I went into my car, grabbed a pen, grabbed a paper, and I started to write, and things just started coming out of me, and I didn't know where it came from. And that was the start of it. Same thing with cooking in general. Of course, everybody may know how to make a soup or a guacamole and the simple things, but when you say, okay, I want this, and I don't want it with meat and dairy in it, you have to start getting very creative with the ingredients you put in there to make it taste similar to that, or have a creamy taste or a meaty taste and things like that. So it just comes to me. It's just like when people have dreams at night and they wake up because it's a part of their passion. That's how it comes. If I get still enough, a voice comes in my head and things just start spitting out. If I don't write it down, and it might be just like entertainers and writers and singers. Some people say how they write on a piece of napkin in a restaurant, in a bar, because it just comes out of you. And if you don't write it down, it's gone forever.
Yeah. I've had those moments. Learning how to be in tune with what we love, what we do best. It's a skill. And we all have gifts, skills, and talents. A lot of times I talk to people and I tell them, you have a story. It sounds like you have a book in you. If you've been able to take some things from your life, put them into a cookbook.
And we all have a book in us. We all do. We all have a story. So.
Yeah. I just want to back up just a little bit. What is the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian?
The simple definition of that is a vegetarian may still eat eggs and fish and dairy.
Mm-hmm.
There's levels to being a vegan. There's levels of being a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
I believe sometimes it's a personal choice. I believe also in our culture of labeling things. We want to put people in a box. And I would say if it's just Vegan Tuesdays, that's good enough. Just like they have Taco Tuesdays. Don't feel like you have to go 100% if that's not for you. Be flexible. Don't beat up yourself if you have a cupcake that had eggs in it. You know, I know how to make them with and I know how to make them without. With veganism, as you like to say, but being a vegan, some vegans, or let's say the straight edge vegans, they won't do anything that has to do with the animal products. So whatever they put on their skin, whatever they put on their hair, there's a lot of animal products in everything.
Mm-hmm.
What they put on their body, you'll never see them walking around with a leather coat or a fur coat. That's one level of being a vegan. Another level is just that, like me, where I just don't eat meat or dairy. It's another one, you're so strict that if you're at work and they have a little party, you might not eat anything there because everything has a level of animal product in it. If it's your butter, if it's shortening, anything and everything pretty much has it into it. I would say if you're trying to make that transition, the best thing to do is actually cook your own food. And that's where the cookbook can help you. And what I also say in the cookbook, everything is about creativity and finding your own way. This is just my way of doing things, but with the book, move it around, make it your own. You have to make your food your own. Everybody has their culture, their family culture that they grew up in. They have their ethnic culture that they grew up in.
Yes.
They have their environmental culture that they grew up in. And you take all those things and put it together and make it work for yourself.
So it seems like the healthier that a person becomes, the more planning it takes.
You do have to prep. Yes, you do. And the easiest way to prep is to have certain essentials in your house. Flaxseed. Flaxseed is a staple when you choose not to eat meat or dairy. Some level of milk, if it's rice milk, flax milk, almond milk, cashew milk, soy milk, whatever works for you, you have to make sure you have those things in your house so you don't go hungry. And prepping and planning plays a big part in that. You can't go wrong with having certain fruits and vegetables that are just readily available where you don't have to cook. Even being a vegan or even people that go raw, there's so many levels. Some people are fully raw. Some people do eat cooked food. Some people are vegan. Some people are vegetarian. Then they have pescatarian or something like that.
Pescatarians.
That's it.
Yeah, so they eat what was
fish
around in the fish.
That's the one that eats fish, and then they have the one, and I can't think of the name right now, but they do have one where they only eat what hunters and gatherers eat, the berries and the nuts, and they do eat meat. There's so many different levels, and they have all these 30-day diet challenges and things like that, but you know what it's really about? If you want to make a lifetime change and a lifestyle change, is having consistency, whatever that is, and don't beat yourself up about it.
It's making being healthy the number one choice, and not necessarily I want to diet because I want to lose weight, but making lifestyle choices because in the long run it's going to make you a healthier person mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah, and diet, the first part of diet is die. And I don't want to die every day feeling like I'm starving myself. I want to eat what I want to eat that is healthy.
What tips do you have for our self-care family who may be interested in becoming healthier? The idea of being a vegan or being a vegetarian, at some level it sounds good, but they just can't see themselves just breaking away cold turkey.
Well, It matters what level you're on again. Everybody's on one level. Maybe they eat all kinds of different meats. So start small and do everything one by one. I don't believe in going into cold turkey unless it's a health change that your doctor is prescribing that you do because you have some dire things happening. I took away the steak years ago. That was the first thing. And then I would just eat chicken and fish. And then I took away the chicken slowly. And then after that, I took away the fish. And even when I finally chose to go into not eating meat or dairy, it was a challenge because I would show up at gatherings and they wouldn't have anything for me to eat.
I remember you told me that.
It's a challenge. So you have to prep and prepare again, have things in your purse, eat before. I just went to something for the 4th of July and they didn't have anything for me to eat. They had jerk chicken, jerk pork, potato salad, and I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I ate before. So you have to prep and think about those things, but make sure you have those things in your refrigerator. Like I said, the easiest, readily available things are fruits and vegetables. I went through a transition and transformation where I lost about 60 pounds. I gained some back because I got really sick a couple years ago, but with that, I would eat a lot of water soluble foods, fruits and vegetables. So the things that have the highest water content: grapefruit, cucumbers, tomatoes, things that are going to fill you up and have that water content where you're also flushing yourself out. Another thing, because we could talk about being vegan, and I think some people, some, not all, but some choose to be vegan or try to go through this journey because they want to lose weight. It's not fully about losing weight, it's about being healthy. But if that is your plan of losing weight and being healthy, you have to detox. And with the detox, with the water soluble foods, that will help. You need to drink a lot of water.
I have my water too.
And with the water, you definitely have to maybe do some type of cleanse or detox. It might be through pills, it might be through maybe only having fluids for a certain amount of time. There's many ways to do it. For me, I did like natural, gentle cleanses for a while. I drank certain types of water that also flushed out my system, and that is the jump start. Kind of like if your car battery went bad and you put the cables on, that's a jump start to get your metabolism going. I know some people are like, oh, I haven't been eating meat and dairy, I'm working out and nothing's happening. Another thing that people don't think about too when you work out, your fat is lighter than your muscle. So don't look at the scale. Now I'm starting to share the secrets of my lifestyle shift program. But with that, know that it's not just about what it says on the scale. It's about how you feel, and it's also how your clothes fit. You'll know the difference from that. A lot of people can see it in their face and their neck and their arms.
Yes.
Do that. Don't look at yourself and say, oh, I'm not losing weight because the scale says that, or my arms look like this. You don't know. It could be muscle under that.
Yeah, and don't beat up on yourself.
Right.
Because making those healthy changes is a lifestyle that can take years to really fully embrace.
Yeah, it's all up to you.
Yeah. Some of our family have a book in them and don't know the first step about how to go about putting that book on paper. What tips would you have for anybody who feels like they have a book in them and they want to share?
Well, there's many means and avenues of doing that. The first thing I would say is get still, brainstorm. It takes a while. I can't remember how long it took for me to write the book, and then the editing process is another thing all in itself to get the graphics and things like that. First thing I would say is be still and just start writing. Write and then slowly put things together where it's organized. After you do that, there's many, like I said, means. What I used, and I had people private message me or ask me how I started writing book. Create Space is the avenue I use. It is a free platform. They have some options, and every year they do get better. And there's many other options out there. Even for my images, there's Pixabay. That's one that I can use where there's no licensing issues with that.
About Pixabay.
Right.
Fiverr
That's
is a very good website to get people to help you through certain processes for very, very minimal cost.
Right.
As well.
I did use them before for editing, and they have so many different things they do on there also. And it's not significant in pricing. I would say once you are ready to write a book, the people will come to you and give you the answers you need to get it done. So once you get still and you get in tuned, it will come. Like attracts like. So once you know you want to write a book, the people will come, it'll come to you, and you'll get it done.
Do you view writing as a spiritual practice or just experience? Or both?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I was saying before, I wrote like maybe 10 years ago, and it was something I had to push out of me. Now, if I just get still and I get into a euphoric state, that's the best way I can explain it, things will just start coming to me. And like I said, if I write it down, it'll just keep on going and going and going. But for me to do that, I have to be still. I think that's the spiritual side. The experiential side of things, I still use things to break down my thoughts. I still have to look up synonyms sometimes. But most of the time, it just comes out. It's nothing that I have to research and do. Real writers, I believe, it usually just comes out. And it's how you organize it after. I'm a part of a writing group. Once you get in these groups, you become more inspired. Things come to you even quicker. And what they do sometimes in my writing group, they'll give you an assignment. Miss Janice, she would say, start with this. I just got off the plane and I saw. And then you write a whole story just by that. There's a lot of ways of getting around people these days, like Meetup and other platforms, again, to help you with your writing or getting around people that are also writing like you.
What are your goals as it relates to being an author and the type of books that you're writing? Because you have another book that you are in the stages of writing as well.
There is another book that I would like to, it's a couple other books actually. I'm working on a book that has to do with grief. That's one of the newer ones. And then it's one that I didn't bring up my background with my health of how my life changed, but I definitely want to write a book about my first diagnosis. Since 2012, I actually was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. What I found is a lot of people where I grew up also was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and again, how like attracts like. I met a whole bunch of people out of nowhere. Even my neighbor downstairs from me, she had MS. So with that, I felt like I want to share their stories because doing the research, being around different people, I'm starting to see some similarities in our journey, in our path. And I definitely believe, in general, that the universe, the Jah, the higher person, gives the hardest struggles to the strongest people. Let it be cancer or miscarriage, death, they give it to the stronger people, or strongest, because I think everybody's strong. And once they get through, they have a story in them. And I want to share some of these people's stories because I think one issue I have, first of all, sometimes people think I'm younger than what I look like. And then with that, when they see me, they're like, nothing's wrong with her. And it's not about nothing's wrong. I am disabled, but I'm just differently abled. And with that, I want to share that you don't have to have a walker. You don't have to be in a wheelchair. You don't have to have some physical ailment to show that you have things going on, and I want to talk about their experiences and how they're able to break through with that experience or diagnosis of multiple sclerosis.
A lot of people do have disabilities that are invisible.
Yes.
And tend to be discriminated against a bit more because a person will look at you and think you're healthy.
Right.
I know I have asthma, and unless I'm in a full-fledged asthma attack, nobody can look at me and tell I'm sick. You talk about some of those challenges in the book as well, and I just appreciate that because I think there are a lot of people out here who struggle, or whether it's with an illness, trying to balance everything, because it takes a lot of effort to make things look effortless. We're struggling and we need those supports. We need to know that, hey, I'm not an anomaly. It's other people out here that's experiencing the same thing that I'm experiencing. And what are you doing to make things better? Because maybe I can share what I do and you can share what you do, and together, collectively, we can build each other up and strengthen each other up. I appreciate you listening to Spirit when you are inspired to write these books, because they do help.
Exactly.
Yeah, they do help.
They only get better.
Good. So, Hasina, how can people get a copy of your book? Yeah, Mind, Body, and Soul. And then also, you have a blog.
Yes.
So you have some really good blogs. You're a really good writer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So how can people learn more about you, about your work, the books? Because you have two. We didn't bring the poetry book, but it's on your
It's
website.
on my website. So the website is called solutionfocusedconsultant.com. You can reach me there, or you can reach me at 754-600-9017, 754-600-9017, or you can email me, and it's Hasina Roach at msn.com. I'm going to give you my website again, solutionfocusedconsultant.com.
Thank you, Hasina. So do you have any final words for our self-care audience on how to be their best self, how to listen to what their body is saying to them, what their mind is saying to them, to what their soul is saying to them, and be the best that they can be?
I remember meeting a beautiful lady a while ago. Her name, I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but I remember this beautiful older lady coming to me, and we sat down at Dunkin' Donuts and had a long conversation. Everything is about practice. Mm-hmm. When I first met her and she kept on saying, my practice, my practice, my practice, I was like, is she a therapist like me? No, she means her practice. Every day that you get up, practice those rituals, those traditions that give you that self-love and self-care that you need, so you will have a higher level of intuition, that you will be more aware, that you will be more in tune. Once you do those things, there'll be a level of balance. And with that level of balance, I believe when you have it, that's when creativity comes out. That's when you live your best life.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hasina, I want to thank you for being here and talking about your book, Mind, Body, and Soul, Vegan Recipes for a Simplistic Lifestyle. And also I want to let everybody know that you are my co-host as well, because we do a radio show, Positively Affirmative, and we're going to be doing more with the Satari Self-Care Institute. My self-care family, I want to thank you for being a part, for listening. If this video helped you, please share it, please like, subscribe, and tune in to the next episode.